Welcome back to Auto Profit Daily, and in this email, we're going to take a closer look at the bait of your email. That's your subject line. So we're going to start off by talking about ways that you can avoid spam filters. There's certain rules here that you should follow, and I've put a link down in the resources so that you can read a little bit more about them and kind of have a checklist to follow. The first thing is make sure that it's not too long. If your subject line is too short or too long, it could signal spam. So the best rule of thumb here is to keep it around 60 characters. A little bit longer is fine, a little bit shorter is fine, but around 60 characters is the best for you. The other reason you want to keep it around 60 characters is that it makes sure that it doesn't cut off anything in the preview for Yahoo, Gmail, and Outlook as well. So it's not going to trim the end of your email. People are actually going to see the full subject line in most of those accounts. Now the next thing is you don't want to overuse caps. A lot of people have a tendency to use caps to really emphasize something like this. Brand new tool allows for huge results in SEO. Now this subject line, along with all the other subject lines you're going to see on this page, are actually pulled directly out of my own spam filter in Gmail. Now there could be any number of reasons for this why. There could be spammy links within the account, but I'm just focusing on the subject lines here. So new and huge, they do not need to be in all caps. That's a big signal to the spam filters that this is going to be a spammy email, so it goes right into the promo tab. Now SEO, that's fine for it to be in caps because it stands for something. It stands for search engine optimization, so that's fine. This probably would have been fine to go into the inbox if they didn't capitalize new and huge. So the next thing we want to do is make sure that we don't overuse symbols. So use punctuation and symbols where they belong. You don't want to overdo it. This is another subject line I pulled out of my promo tab, out of my spam filter, and it has square brackets here. Case study reveals why only 5% of marketers ever make it. So the 3 exclamation marks here, you don't want to have that. 1 exclamation mark would have been fine. And even the percentage sign here sometimes indicates that it's something to do with money or numbers. Sometimes that can be a symbol as well. The rule here is you can use these punctuation marks, obviously, but you just don't want to overdo it. So 3 punctuation marks, there's no need for that. Just make it 1, and this could have probably hit the inbox just by deleting these 2 exclamation marks off the end here. The other thing you want to do is never use RE to signal a reply. Trying to make your email look like it's part of a conversation string is a huge spam signal. Okay, so again, something I pulled out of my spam folder, RE tools you need to see for 2017. You just can't put this in. If it's not a reply, you can't use that. Your email provider is going to see that it's not actually part of a conversation string, and it's just going to automatically drop it into the spam folder. So never use RE. Also, the thing that you never really want to do ever is use currency symbols. So dollar signs, euro signs, pound signs, whatever currency it is in your country, you never want to use those symbols. So again, here's one. Using this training took me from $0 to $500 per day. Now, having said that, I'm sure you can probably think of at least one email that you've gotten, maybe even from me, that has a dollar sign in it. The way that we're able to send, and I say we, but the way that a lot of marketers are able to send emails with dollar signs in there, and even some things that are kind of questionable, is down to some really, really advanced stuff called SPFs and DKIMs. We're not going to look at that in this training program because it's really, really advanced stuff. You have to go into your actual server that you're sending from, install certain tags. It's just not something that we're going to be looking at. The best rule of thumb here is, in general, just avoid using the dollar sign. You can also get around that by making sure that your email is whitelisted with certain people. So if they check, obviously, to make sure that all the emails from you come to their inbox, then you can put in, dollar sign, Viagra pills, and you're still going to hit the inbox. But most people won't do that. So in general, best rule of thumb, try and avoid using the dollar sign whenever you possibly can. And if you do use it, use it just once. Don't do 3 dollar signs or anything like that. Just try and avoid it as much as possible. And you also want to avoid blacklisted words. Now, there's a ton of blacklisted words. I've actually put a link in the resources where you can find over 400 blacklisted words. All of these words should never be used in your subject line. And again, there's going to be situations where you'll see a word in that blacklist and you're going to say, oh, well, there's an email in my inbox that uses that word. Again, don't focus on individual situations like that. Use this as a general rule of thumb. If you can avoid using this word, don't use any of these 400 words because it's going to make it much easier for you to hit the inbox more often. So here's an example, limited time only, get XYZ tool for 50% discount. So again, this is pulled right out of my spam filter. Limited time only, that's a blacklist phrase. Okay, saying limited time only in your subject line is a great way to hit the spam filter. Also the word discount, 50% discount in general is a blacklisted phrase. Okay, it's going to be very hard to get past a spam filter, especially when you're using both phrases. Okay, if you've got two blacklisted phrases or words in your subject line, it's going to be very difficult to get past a spam filter in most situations. So let's talk about actually getting the open. So let's say that you follow all those spam rules, you get into the inbox. How are you actually going to convince people to open your email? How's the bait actually going to work? So the first thing is you want to use power words, and these are power sales words that copywriters have used for years and years and years, and they're just great little mental triggers to kind of get someone hyped up, feel motivation, feel like there's something different about your subject line. So again, in the resources, there's a list of power words that you can go and look at. They're great for different situations. The next thing you can do is ask a question. And the rules I'm showing you here on this slide are not saying that you have to do this for every subject line, but they're just some examples of ways that you can increase open rates and really get that bait working for you. So what you want to think about is what problem does the product solve? So if you're promoting your own product, obviously you have a great idea of what problem that your product is solving. If it's an affiliate product, you want to have a good general idea of why someone would buy this, right? Because everyone's going to buy a product because it solves some kind of a problem. And then what you want to do is once you understand what that problem is, you want to ask a question around that pain point. So here's an example. Great subject lines. Do you have trouble writing them? Okay, that's a great example of an email subject line that you could send if you were promoting this product. If you've never written a subject line or you have trouble writing them, that's a subject line you could put. Great subject lines. Do you have trouble writing them? Very simple, very straightforward. It asks a question and it uses this word here, you. Whenever possible, you want to avoid using you guys or us or we. You always want to talk directly to the person who's looking at your subject line. Next up, whenever possible, you want to use a number. So you can use letters or numbers to quantify amounts of information. Okay, it gives the perception of more stuff. So 8 tricks that I learned from this IM masterclass. That's a subject line that I've used in the past and got a huge amount of open rates. I talked about a masterclass, which is something that sounds exciting and different, but also 8 tricks. 8 tricks is a lot. That's a lot of content that you're going to be expecting to see when you open up that email. So if I just said tricks I learned from this IM masterclass, wouldn't have got as high of an open rate. But 8 tricks, now I'm quantifying the amount of information. Someone thinks, wow, 8, that's a lot of pieces of information in there. Also, a little side note to this, if you are going to use a number, avoid using a number that's divisible by 5. So don't say 5 tricks or 10 tricks. You actually want to choose a number like 8, or whenever possible, actually, you can also use a prime number, so 7. And a prime number is obviously a number that's only divisible by itself or 1. So 7 tricks that I learned, or 13 tricks that I learned. Any prime numbers generally seem to get the best open rates. I'm not sure why that is, but I think it's just those numbers stand out a lot more in the subject line. And the final trick I have here for you to make sure you get that open is to be clear and direct. What you don't want to do is use secretive subject lines. You want to be upfront and tell people what the email actually is, right? So here's a good example, 4 breakout tips I learned from this Facebook course. A more secret version of saying that would be 4 tips you won't believe about Facebook ads, okay? 4 tips I learned from this Facebook course kind of sets the expectation that the person who's sending the email took a Facebook course, these are things they learned, and now they're sharing it with whoever the reader is. 4 tips you won't believe about Facebook ads is kind of secretive. It doesn't explain too much. Where do these tips come from? It's automatically just setting that slight little negative trigger. So you want to use something positive. 4 breakout tips I learned from this Facebook course. It's very clear, very concise. Automatically, I, as the person who's going to open this email, know that the person sending the email has learned this from a Facebook course. So those are really solid ways to actually get people to open your email. I recommend that you use all the resources I have here for this video, but the most important thing that I want you to take away from this is to avoid those spam triggers, because even if you have an amazing copy in your email and you've got a really great hook, what you don't want to do is use a spammy subject line, because that means no one's ever going to see your email. All right, so make sure that you follow those spam filter rules, you use the resources down the bottom for those checklists, and you actually go ahead and put together a great subject line. What we're going to do next, I'm just going to open up Word, and what we're going to do is, as we go through each of these videos, is put together an email to actually send out to my own list, promoting a product that we looked at a little bit earlier. So let's jump into Word and take a look at what I mean. So in our previous video, I showed you ways to find platinum offers, and we went through this little spreadsheet exercise here. So what I'm going to do is actually write an email that I'm going to send out to my list promoting this product here. the Rockhopper 98 product. So what I've done is actually open up the sales page here, which we'll take a closer look at. And this is the product from Kenny and Cameron, two really well-respected product creators. I've gone ahead and read through the entire sales page, which I recommend that you do. It's very hard to write a convincing email if you haven't read the sales copy, so take 5 minutes and do that. And then what I'm going to do right now is actually start writing the subject line for an email that I would send promoting this product. Now, whenever possible, I recommend that you actually go and buy the product as well, just so that you have a clear idea of, it's just going to give you better content to write the email about. I have gone and purchased this. It was only $5.95. It was not a huge amount, and just gives me a solid idea of what the product's actually about. So what I'm going to do here is just open up Word, and I'm going to start writing in my first subject line. So I haven't prepped this at all. You're going to see this completely stream of consciousness as I start to think out a couple things. So after going through the subject, after going through the sales page, there's a couple things that I noticed, and I definitely want to use that number hook within my bait for my subject line here. And they talk about different strategies and stuff. So I noticed that there were 3 things. So I want to start off with the word, actually no, we're going to use the number 3 strategy, no, tricks, 3 tricks. We can actually make that stronger. Let's do 3 unique tricks. That's pretty good. 3 unique tricks that Kenny, and remember I want to keep this under 60 characters, so if I can shorten Cameron down to Cam, I'm going to do that. So 3 unique tricks that Kenny and Cam used to transform, I'm probably going to change that because I don't like that word, but 3 unique tricks that Kenny and Cam used to transform a, I'm just going to write out a longer one here, a struggling marketer into a pro. Okay, so that's kind of the general idea of what I want for my subject line, but obviously that's too long. That's probably, what, 80 characters? 83 characters with spaces. Got to remember that we're looking at spaces as well. So let's try and shorten this up a little bit here. 3 unique tricks that Kenny and Cam, okay, let's change this. Let's do 3 unique tricks. We'll put in a dash that kind of symbolizes the word that. 3 unique tricks. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam transformed, I don't like that word, I'm going to come back to that, how Kenny and Cam transformed a struggling marketer into a pro. That sounds better than the first draft. So now we're down to 78 characters. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam transformed a struggling marketer into a pro. How Kenny and Cam, I don't like this word transform, you know what, let's flipped. How Kenny and Cam flipped a struggling marketer into a pro. How many? No, it's probably going to be about the same characters. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped. Let's take this out. Struggling marketer, a newbie. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped a newbie into a pro. That's not bad. 61 characters, perfect. It just doesn't quite sound right. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped a newbie into a pro. Actually, you know why? It's because a rookie becomes a pro, a newbie becomes a veteran. I like using rookie better. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped a rookie into a pro. That's pretty good. 61 characters. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped a rookie into a pro. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I might go back and change this a little bit later, but I mean, that was what, 60 seconds or something like that to kind of start off with a long idea of my subject line and then just start kind of shortening it up and using a power word here and there. So unique, you know, that right there, that's a power word. Okay, so that's one of the rules I'm following. I'm using a number. There's another rule that I'm following. How Kenny and Cam flipped a rookie into a pro. You could say flipped is maybe a power word as well. I'm not using a question. It just wouldn't fit with the overall idea that I've got here, so I'm going to leave that out. But if I wanted to, I could probably change this part here to make it into a question. Actually, that's how Kenny and Cam can flip you from rookie to pro. That sounds pretty good. 65 characters. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam can flip you from rookie to pro. how Kenny and Cam can flip you from rookie. See, the Cam and the can doesn't sound right. How Kenny and Cam can, I'm going to put this back the way it was actually. Flipped a rookie into a pro, because this kind of symbolizes, or this kind of suggests the idea that we're going to be talking about a case study. It's how they did it. How Kenny and Cam flipped a rookie into a pro. Okay, based on the sales page and the content, that's kind of what they did. So I'm going to leave this as the subject line. 3 unique tricks how Kenny and Cam flipped a rookie into a pro. So in the next part, we're going to get into the hook. So after the subject line here, once someone opens a subject line, what is going to be the very first thing that they see? So we'll go ahead, write hook here, and we'll just bold that. And this is going to be the first sentence that people see as soon as they open up that email. So let's jump back into the next video. We'll talk about some rules that you need to follow when you're actually writing out your hook. I'll see you next video.